Hey, Adventure Girls, welcome to the Why She Adventures interview series. I'm so excited to have you here. It's going to be so much fun. Welcome along to your regular dose of adventure inspiration from amazing women throughout New Zealand who are out there doing cool shit. I'm Senka Radonich, the creator of Adventure Girls and your host for Why She Adventures. And today I have got an amazing lady to do an interview with. She said yes when I met her in a shop. I was helping a friend out at their outdoor store at a sale, and I got chatting to this lady, and I was like, instantly, I have to interview you for the Why She Adventures interview series. This woman had so many adventure stories. It was incredible. And I've just found out from her, she got hit by a car just the other day and she is still in recovery. So we're going to have some really juicy conversations about what she's doing in the meantime when you're laid up and you can't get out and adventure. So it's going to be a really great conversation. And that's the whole point of this Why She Adventures interview series, is so we can have some great conversations about not just what gets these ladies out adventuring and why they do it, but what's behind all of that. How do they overcome the challenges that show up in life? Because let's be honest, ladies, we all know that life isn't just smooth sailing. We have mountains to climb. We have our own challenges to move through. And if the stuff that they share with you gives you that little bit of inspiration and gives you that little insight as to how you can move through the challenges in life, and of course, how you can have some more fun and adventure in life. That is the whole purpose of this interview series. So I'm super excited to introduce you to our guest interviewee for today. I'd like to welcome you and introduce you to Tara Papworth. I'll get them to edit this so that it's all good to go. So I assume I've done so it's really funny because I've already done an intro, but I'll redo another one. It's always funny. Yeah.
I know. I was like, oh God, I feel panicky now.
Yeah, I'm like all of a sudden like, hang on, let me just flick this.
I'm going to pretend it's not recording.
Yeah. Just pretend it was you and I in the shop. So
yeah.
It's really weird because I've already done the intro. All right, so where are you going, Senka? Hey, Adventure Girls. I'm sitting here with Tara Papworth, who I met in the Further Faster shop when she came in to do some shopping, and I was helping out the sale, and I met her and I was like, this lady is so freaking rad. We just jammed on an adventure conversation for, I don't know, a good 20 minutes maybe. And what fell out of it was just, like meeting someone who you were like, this woman does cool stuff in the outdoors, like hearing her story, hearing what she's gotten up to, hearing what she loves to do, and just catching up with her again pre this interview. I was like, oh my God, you ladies are going to be so treated to all the fun adventures that she's done, her stories, and like how she came about falling in love with adventure. So, because that's what the whole series is about. It's why she adventures. Why do these women go out and do this crazy stuff and love it? So Tara, I'm super pumped to have you here on our interview. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us and share all your juicy adventure goodness with us.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
We were just catching up before too. I just it was like, tell me about the adventures you've been up to. And Tara's like, oh yeah, well, so just the other month I got hit by a car when I was out for a run. And I was like, are you serious? So I want to jump straight into that topic because I don't know about you, like I'm an active relaxer. So for me, like having to, not choosing to, having to pull back from doing the stuff that you love, like getting outdoors and things. How have you found that? Oh, I'm cutting into the juicy stuff straight away.
I don't like it. I had a couple of colds within the space of 3 weeks before that as well. So pretty much for 2 months, I've not really done that much. And by the end of it, I'm going a bit crazy, and I start getting really irritable and a bit annoyed at the world. So I've tried to get out and do some walks and things, but also just trying to, I don't know, read and write and that kind of thing. No, I don't like it.
So tell us what actually happened. So so what actually happened with the accident, and just so we get a bit of backstory on that.
So basically I was running to work. It was a Friday morning. We had a works party the Friday night, so I was running to work so I could have a drink. And I was running across Fitzgerald Avenue in Christchurch, which is a kind of 6-lane road. And I'd run the first part, got to the second part, and it was on a green light. And I started running on the second part, and a woman turned right into the road and didn't see me and plowed straight into me. And I bounced off her bonnet and onto the floor.
Oh no! What happened with that in terms of injuries and?
So I landed pretty hard, so I had a lot of bruising, and I had my running backpack on, so I had my water flask, which was just full of water, and that acted a bit like a brick. So that kind of, my ribs crushed that, and that exploded. So luckily, I'm really lucky, touch wood, I didn't break any bones or have any major damage, just a lot of bruising. So yeah, I was really lucky.
Yeah, that is lucky. Oh my gosh. Because it's so funny, like those situations just can really throw you off your course of what you normally do. So so what have you been doing in the meantime then, if you can't get out and adventure? And we'll definitely get on to talking about what you do, what you love, and I'm excited to share, because I know you just have done some really cool shit.
So that was about a month ago. So I just caught up with friends. I read a few books. I watched a lot of films, watched a lot of Netflix series, which isn't like me, but it's been quite nice. And I write a lot, so I write some stories. So I just tried to kind of take it easy, eat lots of nice food, catch up with friends, that kind of thing. I've been on a couple of weekends away actually. I went to Wellington, I went down to Queenstown, so just a bit of change of scenery. So I didn't do much when I was there, but that was quite nice.
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? It's funny how stuff like that can actually give you the opportunity to see like the world in a different way if you're not out adventuring. So it does actually get you to rethink what you're doing. So there's like a forced fresh perspective on life sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. I think I just needed. And I went to Melbourne as well in Australia.
Right. So this is like for anyone who's hearing this, like, is anyone else hearing the same thing? So I got broken for a month, but I still went to Wellington. I still went to Melbourne. I still active relaxers. You just can't hold us down.
I did some gentle walking, and I think just a change of scenery as well, rather than just sitting in my flat and seeing the same four walls. Even though I've just moved here and it's nice, but So I went to Wellington with not Wellington. I went to Melbourne with work. So I just made a weekend of it and caught up with some friends and did some stuff. And I did manage to do parkrun there. I pushed myself a bit too hard and it did hurt, but it's fine.
So parkrun. So tell us about the stuff that you love to do. Like, what are your adventure jams? Like, do you have one? Do you have many? Like, what do you love to do?
I'll try anything, to be honest. My favourites are running, cycling, and hiking and camping. I love like hiking and wild camping and that kind of thing. But I'm not so keen on water. I'm a bit of a land-based person, but I do like a canoe and a stand-up paddleboard, especially here in New Zealand. In the UK, not so much, but I'm getting out there. I've even swum in a lake here, which is really weird. And I wouldn't say that's my favourite, but so running, cycling, and hiking, because I love the mountains and I love views, and anything long distance and kind of endurance based I really love.
Yeah. And so how did we acquire you from the UK then?
So I had a boyfriend who was from New Zealand, so I came over to be with him, and that didn't last that long, but I decided to stay because it's like a playground for me. So it was quite convenient that he lives here, really. So but I just love it here, so I just decided to stay. It's awesome.
Yeah. So what has been one of the most favorite places that you visited in New Zealand, and why?
Oh man, there's so many.
I know, right? Is it better if I say the top three? Like, does that make it any better?
Yeah, kind of actually. So I've got a real soft spot for Akaroa and the Banks Peninsula. I love it. So I visited once a couple of years ago before I moved here, and it was kind of a real grey, drizzly day, and I didn't think much to it. I was like, oh. And then I think it was last year, just after I broke up with my boyfriend, and I had a couple of weeks before starting work, and I thought, oh man, I need to go do something. So I took my bike and I decided to cycle around the Banks Peninsula, and it was like gloriously sunny days, and I just had such a lovely time by myself, and I think it was quite healing, and I mean it's bloody hilly as well, so it was quite challenging. But I stayed in Akaroa for I think 4 days in the end. I was only going to stay a couple of nights, and I did some hikes, and I just love it out there. It's so beautiful and so quiet, and there's so many little bays, and yeah, so I think that's probably one of my favorite places, and I'd like to stand up paddleboard around the bay, because it's just stunning. And then I love Hanama Springs, because it's just such a cute little town. It's like a little alpine lodge, and I've been in the winter and in the summer, and it's just, there's always something new to do. I've done Mount Isabel so many times, but it always looks different.
Mount Isabel is so beautiful, isn't it?
I feel like I'm on top of the world when I'm stood there. I don't know what it is. I think it's the 360 view.
I went with a girlfriend, and we walked up, and yeah, like you said, I remember getting up to that, because you walk up the zigzag, and then you kind of go through the bush, and then you get out to the open, and then you come up to the top, and then you're not quite at the summit, but you come over that ridge line.
Yep.
And I remember standing there, and I actually welled up, like I actually teared up, because it was just like so breathtaking. I have moved from the North Island to the South Island. I've not really been a mountains person. I've been a bit more of a forest girl,
right?
And just seeing the mountains in all their glory in that way, I was just totally overwhelmed with how majestic it was. Like Mount Isabel was it was one of those places, and I got to walk through the snow as well.
I went last May, and it was just it was gorgeous, because you got a bit of both, because the snow was only a bit higher up, and and I love at Hanama, like you've got cafes, and you've got the hot pools, and you've got some bars and stuff, so you can go and just do a weekend of everything. It's I love it.
It's great. I stayed at the top 10 there. They've got the hot tubs there, so instead of having to go with the crowds to the springs, I just stay there and then go use and then the price is so reasonable to use their hot tub, and it's glorious. So
I always stay at the there's a forest park. It's like a K or two out of town. It's just like this. It's this real quaint, really strange little place. It's like a little holiday camp, but it's right in the forest, and there's trails and stuff from it. And it's real cheap.
Oh, really?
Okay,
noted.
It's like they use it for school camps as well. So one time we went, and there was some kind of like band camp on, but I've always met some real interesting people there, and they've got a little campsite, and they've got cabins, and it's quite cute actually. That's
okay, cool. I love it. I love finding those little like cool places that have those cool little features and stuff. So Akaroa, number 1, Hanama Springs, number 2. Can you give us a third of your favorite places in New Zealand, and what you love about going there?
Yeah, it's got to be Mount Cook. Man, it's so gorgeous. So I did. So I've been there a few times, and I did like the Mount Cook half marathon there, which is just one of the most stunning races. I mean, it's just on road, and it's flat and out and back, but you just get that view. So pretty awesome. But there's so many nice walks, like you've got the Hooker Valley Glacier Walk, which is flat-ish, which is really nice. And I think it's the first time I saw icebergs in a lake when I was here about 5 or 6 years ago, and I was just like, oh my God. Well, it's just awesome. And then you've got
the glacial The Glacier Lakes?
Yeah. There was
Oh,
like chunks
yeah.
of ice floating around, and I
Yeah.
was like, how? You don't see that in England.
Is that the Tasman Glacier Lake there?
I think it's, oh yeah, possibly.
Yeah.
I don't know. The one that you walk to and you get to at the end.
Oh, okay, sweet.
Um,
That's different. Yeah.
but then there's other walks, but it's just the campsite there is awesome because the weather can be really feral. I remember the first time I was there, I was camping and I had to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and pack my tent up and sleep in the car because I thought I was going to be blown away. I thought my
Now
tent was
that
going to
is what you
break.
call, that's what you call committed to the cause, right? Like, I'm not leaving, I'm just going to sleep in my car so that I can adventure the next day.
Yeah, well, literally, like I had this quite high tent and it was hitting me in the face with the tent poles, and I was like, oh man, I thought my tent's going to break. It was a brand new one, and I thought I can't risk not having a tent. So yeah, stay in the car. Now I've got a little camper van. It's much easier. You just get blown around a bit. And
Oh, you've got a camper van now. Awesome.
Yeah, got a little camper that I just go away in the weekends. It's just literally like just a little van with a bed in the back. But
oh, that's amazing.
It's much better for Mount Cook where you don't get around. But the thing I love about Mount Cook, again, every time you go, it's different. There's different snow. You know, the people are different. The conditions are different. And I did the Mueller Hut in February this year for the first.
Oh, you have to tell me about that. I am dying to know about it. And I'm sure anyone who's listening wants to know about it. Oh, how exciting. Tell me about Mueller Hut.
I've never seen anything so incredible. Oh man, it's quite a steep, like you've got 2,200 steps to get to Sealy Tarns, which is a nice walk in itself.
Yeah.
And then you carry on going up, and it's quite steep. It's pretty hard work, but you get to this saddle, and just like the whole that, like you can see the glaciers and stuff from Sealy Tarns or Mount Cook, but when you get to this saddle, you see like the other bit of it. And honestly, it's just like a wall of mountains that are so high, so vast, with glaciers hanging off them. Like it is just, oh my God, it's breathtaking. It really is. And then you go a bit further and you've got this little hut and you feel like you're on the moon because the terrain changes. So you've got all these big boulders. They're like these kind of rocky red boulders. So it's like, and there's just this little red hut on stilts in this vast boulder bay. Oh my God, we took a couple of beers up and a bottle of red wine and we sat watching the stars, drinking red wine and eating chocolate. It was great.
Oh, you are speaking my language, girl. That is what adventuring is for me.
Yeah, that's been one of my favorite hikes in New Zealand so far. It was insane.
Yeah, that is definitely like on my adventure bucket list. Like it's on my adventure girls must do list. Like I've got Mueller Hut on there, and just like every time I talk to someone about it, like I just like this, I am just like, when am I booking it in? When am I doing it next? Because when am I doing it? Because it just, every time someone describes it, I'm just like, it just makes me like think I'm just got to do it. Like, yeah.
Well, I remember everyone used to, or I used to hear that it was quite popular, and I was like, oh, what's so good about it? And then, I was thinking, well, it's going to be good because it's New Zealand, but yeah, it's pretty special.
Yeah. It's funny, when you were describing it, it made me think of the Tongariro crossing up in the North Island. So, because there's the red craters up the top, but you also go across a big flat section, and it's like you described, it's such changing terrain over sort of quite a short space of time. And you feel like, I always describe it when we're doing the big flat section before we go up to the crater, to the red crater, that it feels like you're walking on the moon, because it's just like this big flat space. It doesn't have the big rocks that you're talking about, but after climbing up through volcanic, doing the devil's staircase and climbing upstairs for like 45 minutes an hour, and then you come to like this big red flat surface, you're just like, I was just, and I'm here and I'm going there. It's just like, yeah, it's so beautiful. It kind of takes me on to like just hearing you talk about adventures, like I get super excited about it. And it's like, I don't know what it is for me about seeing these places in New Zealand. Like there's beautiful places outside of New Zealand, don't get me wrong. And we used to do a surf trip over to Bali once a year, and that was amazing. And I actually considered the first trip I did when I went to Bali, I considered moving there and all of that sort of stuff. And then I remember flying back to New Zealand, you know, and going straight out to Mueller Beach. It's a West Coast beach up in the North Island. So, you know, that beautiful black sand, rugged ocean. And I remember it was a beautiful clear day. And I walked down the beach and there was this cool breeze after being in hot, humid Bali, where you can't drink the water from the tap, you know, like it's a third world country, and sure, the massages are cheap. And I walked back and I got back into New Zealand and I went, I love New Zealand so much that, like, yeah, maybe I do want to go see some places overseas, but there is just so much to see around New Zealand. And the beauty that we have right on our freaking doorstep is like so inspiring. Like, never in my lifetime will I see everything in New Zealand that I want to see, if, you know, even trying to get out every weekend, you know, kind of thing. So like when you talk about places like that, it just like, I feel super inspired about going, and I've got to see that, like, so I'm not sure what it is for you, like, you know, we've acquired you from the UK, but you know, we've pulled you here with the beauty of New Zealand. What does adventure mean for you? Like, how does it make you feel when you go on adventures, or when you get to talk adventures and that kind of stuff?
I think it can mean so many different things. So for me, it's not about the big stuff either. So for me, I think like adventure is a state of mind. It's just wanting to try something new, or something that you've never done before. So even just I always used to like take a different route home from work when I moved different places, just to see different things. So for me, that's kind of, I was like that as a kid. I always wanted to go and explore and see what was out there. So I think, as much as I've done big stuff and the big hikes and things, I've also I also love the little things. So back in the UK, and actually I was talking about this with some friends only this week here, we used to do like a midweek camp out in not necessarily in tents, but like in bivy bags, or just out in the open with our sleeping bags, depending on the weather. And we'd just find a field somewhere on a hill, and we'd take like a couple of beers and some food, and we just sit and chat, watch the stars, go to sleep, get up early the next morning, go back home, go to work. So we were talking about doing that in the Port Hills here at some point. So just
let me know.
Yeah, we're real keen to do that. So it's not just the big things. I think it's getting out there and doing something different, and also just like challenging yourself a little bit, or putting yourself out of your comfort zone. And for me, adventure is kind of generally around the outdoors and some kind of active stuff, but it doesn't have to be hardcore, and it doesn't have to be massive mountains. With New Zealand, there's so many places that you can go visit, and little campsites, and just do different things. It doesn't have to be big to be enjoyable, and to be fun. And when I started out on all my adventures, you know, when I started running, I couldn't even run a mile, so I just used to run a little bit down the road and back. And you kind of build up to it. And I think I like the endurance stuff, so I've done bigger stuff. But yeah, you don't have to go straight into that, and you don't have to do that at all. You know, I remember when I started running and people say, "Oh, you're going to run a marathon?" I was like, "No way." Who would do that? That's crazy. And for years I didn't. I wasn't interested. I did a half marathon and that was it. But then I kind of got into the adventure-y type side of it. So it was like, and the trail running and that kind of thing. And then I was like, oh, actually, I like the idea of that. But you don't have to. It's that you can do anything you want.
Yeah, I love I love that. Adventure is a state of mind. That is going to be quoted. I'll just have you know, adventure is a state of mind, because it's so true. And I also love the fact that you're talking about it doesn't have to be doing those big things. Like like there's just so much stuff that's accessible. I use the doc website quite a lot personally for finding walks that aren't necessarily big mountainous walks as well. Like if I just want to get out, I'm very fortunate that I actually live right on the Port Hills, so I can walk out my door and I've got like, you know, short walks, easy walks from here. But I just love that you say it's a state of mind, and that you don't need to start big, because I think what can happen for women if they're just starting out, or they're interested in doing things like hiking or trail running or any kind of adventure, is that we get caught up in the big version of it, like doing the big hike to Mueller Hut, or going and doing the Tongariro crossing, which is like a 1-day 19K walk, and it's going to take you, you're going to be out for 6 hours. It's like, it doesn't have to start there, and like you say, it's that whole building up to it. So I love that you talked into that, because for anyone who's watching this, and you're thinking about, like, you've been like, I want to do some more hiking, or I want to get into doing some trail running, or I want to try some stand-up paddleboarding, or I want to try surfing, or whatever it is. It's like just taking that first little step to get into it. So do you have any advice for any women out there that are listening to your story going, okay, you've inspired me, because you're like me, you're like me, we must be a similar age. What advice would you give to them for going out and like just starting in whatever it is that they're interested in, adventure wise?
I think for a lot of people, like, it can be quite daunting to do things on your own, and it can be quite daunting if you don't really know what you're doing. So I remember when I started hiking, I had no idea about what food to take. I just didn't really know how it worked, what you were supposed to do, how long things took. So I just went with other people that did, and kind of learned from them. There's nothing wrong with going out and doing things by yourself, but I think it can be quite daunting. And especially like in the UK and some of the countryside, it's not too bad. In New Zealand and mountains, it can be probably quite dangerous. So I think the thing that I would recommend is, if you're not sure, find other people to do it with. There's groups, there's people that go out, connect with other people that can kind of help you, and don't feel bad about that, because we all started somewhere, and actually I found that the adventure communities, or the running communities, or the outdoor communities, especially women, are actually really supportive. We all started somewhere, and so don't feel daunted by that. I would say, just go and meet like-minded people and do that. I can't guarantee that you won't end up running an ultra marathon or a 6-day hike, but that's all right, that's cool. But, I think the key thing is just to kind of start and just accept that you're probably going to be out of your comfort zone, but actually that's pretty nice. And just kind of choose something and give it a go.
Perfect. So perfect. It's so interesting, because I just did a post last night that I shared a section of, we did a Rogaine about a month ago at Little River. We chose a girlfriend and I went like, let's go do a 6 hour, because we need to improve our mat breathing skills. 1 hour in, ankle deep in cow poo / mud, we hadn't found our first checkpoint. And I wanted to quit. Like, I was like, I'm fucking done. This is stupid. Whose idea was this? Like, all of that stuff. Because I was like, we're an hour in. We've been searching for this freaking checkpoint and we couldn't find it. And like, so much of that was because I was so far out of my comfort zone. So I wanted to quit because I felt so uncomfortable. Like, I couldn't find it. What a failure. Like, just all the internal stories that we tell ourselves, like when we're feeling really stretched and when we're feeling uncomfortable, we want to tell ourselves other stories and retreat, like, justify why we can slip back to our comfort zone. So it's like, it's like stepping out into a space that you don't know anything, that you don't know, that, like you said, feels really daunting. So it's like, just knowing, like you say, knowing that you're going to feel like the person who knows the least amount of information, and that's totally okay.
Oh man, we hate feeling uncomfortable, don't we? It's like the thing is, I think it's like an inbuilt human thing that we don't like that, and so we kind of retreat into it. But I think it's kind of putting mind over matter and going, actually, I can do this, and the sense of achievement that you get when you've done it. And I think the thing is if we start comparing ourselves to other people, and they'll never feel like that, and actually everyone does, and I mean, I've been in that situation that you said many times, and it's either kind of sink or swim, and a lot of the time, especially if you're adventuring, it's like, well, you haven't got a choice, because yes, you could go home, but you've still probably got to wade through more mud to go home, so why not carry on a little bit? And I always break it down into, well, I'll just do another 5 minutes, or I'll just go, I don't know, another kilometre. Or when I do my long runs, it's like, it's literally just do a few more steps and see how you go. And I do give myself permission to quit if I want to. And I say that's always the option, but just try a little bit more first. And generally what happens is you kind of get used to it, but it's not a nice feeling at all, but it's worth it.
Yeah, the growth through that, the popping through of the stories and the leaning into that discomfort, like you say, is well worth it, because it's like we were rewarded with some epic views once we got moving and all of that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's just so funny how because we're actually wired for safety. Like we're wired to keep ourselves safe, and that's not from just physical safety, but perceived dangerous stuff as well. We're wired to keep ourselves safe. So when you go into that space of feeling unsafe and unsure, it's so easy to, we naturally want to do that. So it is a real practicing of like that. And I love your approach of, what if I just did 5 more minutes? What if I just took those extra couple of steps? And then that gets you back into motion. And it's not like, I've still got to get to the top of that mountain. And like you say, often in the outdoors, there is no other option. Like you have to go back the way you came, which is back through cow poo, or you go forward. So nobody wants to go back through cow poo.
No.
Oh my goodness. So what inspired you? I want to go back to your camper van, because that's what inspired you to get that? Because I have traveled the North and South Island. I traveled for 4 months. I built out the back of my surf Hilux and my 4-wheel drive, Hank the Tank he's called. Built it out so I could sleep in it, and pretty much traveled this North and South Island because that's how much I love New Zealand. I wanted to see it. So it was like just this opportunity to go and see New Zealand, talk to tourists, because they have these amazing insights, meet locals because they have places that you'll never find. What inspired you to get a camper van then?
I guess similar to what you've just said. So I just love being able to just drive somewhere, pitch up and go do stuff. And I don't particularly like the rain. So I love camping, like, in a tent and stuff. But I was like, it's so nice just to have somewhere, something that you can drive up and go. It doesn't matter if it's raining, because I don't have to get it out and that kind of thing. So I think in the UK, I always wanted one to do the same thing around the UK, but I had a job where I had to drive around a lot, so I had to get a pretty sensible car, an economical car. So driving a camper around wouldn't have been great. So when I got here, I was like, sweet, I don't have that. So so when I bought a car, I was like, well, I'll buy that, and it's best of both worlds. So I'd love nothing more than just driving off for the weekend, pitching up, doing some hikes, and you can just dump everything in your car, and there's no setting up or anything like that. It's just, for me, that's awesome. I think eventually I just want to live in a bus or something, or on a boat or something like that. So maybe I'm just making a transition from house to bus. I could just see myself living on some kind of bus in the future.
Oh, you are preaching to the converted here. There is something really freeing about that, like that sense of freedom to kind of go wherever you want. I have it set up so I've got an awning out the side. I don't like pitching a tent. I like the safety of sleeping inside my locked up vehicle in some really remote places. So I like the idea that I'm tucked up safely in there. But it's just like the freedom to just, like you say, throw things in the laptop box and their clothes in the drawer, take off and go and find these beautiful little spots. And it doesn't even have to be far sometimes. Like
no, I often go to the Banks Peninsula, or camp or go to Pigeon Bay or something like that. Where was the other one? Like, just Castle Head, like within an hour's radius. Rakaya Gorge, just I head out there, and I don't mind going back to the same place. I know some people are like, no, I've been there, done that, but it's different every time. So I just love it. I think I'm just a bit of a wanderer. I think I was as a kid, and then I tried the sensible thing when I was in my 20s, and I got married and I bought a house and did that, and then hit 30 and went, no, that's not for me. So I think I've always known that I may be a bit of a wanderer.
I think if anyone's tuning into this, they've probably got that same sense as well, that there's this sense of it, like, need to explore. So I can always remember, even in my back in my brownie days, I don't know what you guys would call it over there, but we've got girl guides and we've got brownies. I got in some serious trouble one time because I wandered off with one of the other girls, so we would have been young, and we just found this really cool place to like go and explore and like build. And remember when we used to build those boats out of leaves, and you could build like little water things that turned in the water, and we were just out playing and doing that, and then we got in some serious trouble because everyone wondered where the hell we were. But it always just makes sense to me to go and play and be in nature. Like, that's the opportunity to really create space in what can be a really busy world for us. So if you were to give your 18-year-old self one piece of advice, given all the stuff that you've gone through in life now, what would that be? I'd be really intrigued to know what that is.
That's a really interesting question. I guess on one hand, I want to say don't get married. Get married to the right man. But actually, I wouldn't want to say that, because that whole experience has kind of made me who I am, and I don't think I would be doing some of the things I've done now if I hadn't have had that. I think I would probably just say, don't worry about what other people think of you. I think that's a pretty good life lesson, because I think once you kind of put that aside and you concentrate on yourself and figure out what makes you tick, then everything else kind of falls into place, because it doesn't matter. So maybe that.
Beautiful. And let's wrap up on this. What does adventure mean to you?
Everything. As simple as that. It's my life, I guess.
I love it. It's everything. Oh, Tara, it has been amazing catching up with you. I knew we would have a great conversation, and like I said, when I met you in the store and we were just able to jam on like talking about different adventures and that sort of stuff, and just also not just adventures but life things, I was like, this lady has to be on my interview series. And she's been following me up because I've been really slack on and I'm so happy that you did, because it's like, people need to hear what you have to say, because they'll connect with you and they'll resonate with you. If people want to reach out to you for anything, is there a way that they can do that if they want to get in touch?
I've got a website called thepapslife.com, or I'm just on social media on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook as Tara Papworth. So
awesome. Can you recommend any groups of, like, I know you said one of the things you talked about was connecting with other women. Like we have the Adventure Girls Sisterhood, which is a free Facebook community, or sisterhood I like to call it, which people can access, or women can access, because it's a whole different situation when you're connecting up with women versus throwing men in the mix. Have you got any other sort of groups or anything like that that you can recommend for women if they're just wanting to get connected to people?
There's another one that kind of started in the UK that's also over here, which is the Adventure Queens, New Zealand.
Oh, nice.
That started by a woman called Anna McNuff and a woman called Emma Frampton. So they're in the UK. Anna has run the length of New Zealand.
Yes, she has.
She's awesome. So she kind of started this in the UK for a similar thing. It's just to kind of connect women and empower women to go out, and a lot of it's around adventure and camping and just getting outdoors. And so we kind of have an offshoot in New Zealand. So there's a Facebook page. I think it's just called Adventure Queens New Zealand. So there's a few of us on there. So there's a few things. We kind of spread out a little bit, but yeah, people can have a look at
awesome. That. It's so good just having all those. There's so many networks out there, and it's like when I first started Adventure Girls, I used to be really protective about like sharing other people's stuff, but like as the business is growing and all of that, now I just realize it's about connecting more women, like with more women to go out and do more adventures. So whether you jumping on the Adventure Queens and you check them out and you're like, they're totally awesome, or you're jumping onto the Adventure Girls page or the Adventure Girls Sisterhood private Facebook community, like it's just all about inspiring women to get out and do more cool shit. So thank you so much.
You find the same people kind of in the different groups as well. It's it becomes like a nice little community.
Yeah, and it's nice, like it's different when you're hanging out with women and going and doing adventures. It's always like, I don't know, the conversation's whole different kettle of fish if you exclude guys from the conversation. So
absolutely
lots of talks about vaginas and periods and just all the things that you wouldn't talk about if dudes are around. So
and all the stuff that's actually really important, and some of the stuff that can stop women doing this kind of thing, because we kind of put so many barriers in front of ourselves, and some stuff we need to talk amongst ourselves to kind of what do you do if you're on your period and you're in the middle of a trek in the mountains, stuff like practical things as well. It's, really important.
I actually went to it's so funny, I'm like, we'll wrap up on that, but it's just so easy to keep talking. We went to a talk that was put on by a mountaineering organization, and the first topic of conversation was what to do about, like, she spoke for about 15 minutes about what to do with your period while you're out in the bush or out in the mountains, and there were just some great practical tips that I was like I needed this. Like I needed this in my life, because even for myself, going out and all of that, I was like, what do you do? You do what you do, but are there better solutions and better ideas? So that's really great.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, Tara, thank you so much for getting on the call and spending some time with us and sharing your love of adventure. It's been a freaking pleasure to talk to you. And Tara lives in Christchurch, so we're going to catch up next week and actually have coffee face to face and probably talk adventure.
Yeah, awesome. Can't wait. My favorite topic.
All right, Tara, thanks so much. All right, so I'm just this a little bonus little talk, because we just like Tara and I, we waved goodbye, hit stop on the record, and then we just carried on talking, and we're just talking about like how like you don't need to quit your day job to go and be a full-time adventurer, and how those home comforts balanced out with like embracing our inner gypsy or our inner explorer, that it's not like you have to be all of this one thing, so that it's like we get to express all parts of us. So as you were.
Yeah, I was just saying, as much as I want to live on a berth, I actually like home comforts, and I like having a base, and I don't think I'd like to travel full time all the time. I really like having friends and a community and feeling part of something and feeling connected to the place that I live. I also like exploring, but I like coming back as well, and so for me it's that real balance, and I actually really like my job. I sit in front of a screen and I sit in an office, which doesn't kind of go with that, but I actually get a lot out of it for all different reasons, and I really like that. And I actually I don't think I'd like to do like an outdoors job, or so I like having a balance in my life, as I get a lot from that, and then I got a lot from this, and it helps keep me grounded.
It's those contrasts, right? Like being able to have like that grounding in something that's regular that you've got going on, and then also the freedom to explore and all of that kind of stuff. Because it's like one of the things that I learned in my traveling through New Zealand in my truck for 4 months is as much as I loved it as an extrovert and somebody who also loves community and feeling connected to our base, is that I found it in some ways really isolating. And I did actually speak about it in a blog that I did a while back, that it was like, I loved it, but there were moments that I felt so isolated and so alone. So it was a really great opportunity to explore that part of me and go, why am I feeling this, and that sort of stuff. And like you, I love to have a base, somewhere to call home, to have my gear, have a space, and then the ability with Hank to go out and do all these little trips and fulfill that free sense of freedom and exploration and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I was like, oh, I've got to hit record, and we've got to, because we were just kept talking about really juicy stuff. So
I find for me, like, my ideal kind of length for like an adventure type trip is a month, because I find that's a really nice time, and I don't get very often to do that when you work a full-time job with normal holidays and stuff. But a month is a really good time for me, because it's long enough to kind of really get away and do something, but not so long that I start missing that kind of stuff as well. So that's, but I also think I was going to say something, it's kind of gone out of my head. It was really relevant. Talk a bit while I remember.
It'll pop back in.
Oh God, what was it? Oh no, it's
all right.
It might come back.
Awesome. Oh, thank you for letting me just hit record on that juicy little bonus bit of conversation. I was like, I was saying to Tara when we hung up, I was like, oh my God, it was like, I could have talked for a full solid hour just about adventures and life and all that sort of stuff. Here we go. She's remembered.
I remembered. Yeah. The other thing that I quite like is mixing it up. So I think, again, a lot of people think, oh, you like running, so you must do X, Y, Z, or your holidays must be this. And actually, I like a bit of both. Like, a lot of people think, oh, you wouldn't like a, kind of relaxing holiday in a real swish hotel. It's like, actually, I probably would, just not all the time. As much as I like camping and roughing it, and that kind of thing. So for me, adventure can change. So say, for example, here I've done the Alps to Ocean bike trail twice, and so I did it once on my own, and I really wanted to kind of rough it, and I just stayed at campsites and took my stove and cooked my own food, and that was great, and I really enjoyed that. And then I did it again with some friends, actually on a tandem. That's another story.
And this is why I was like, we're going to talk to Tara.
But we did it. Kind of I guess a slightly more luxurious. They were over visiting New Zealand from the UK. They'd never been here before. I was like, I'm going to show you some of the best bits of New Zealand, but you're on holiday, so we didn't want to carry too much stuff, so we didn't carry stoves or anything like that. So we just stayed in the campsites where there was pubs, and we could go out for dinner and have a few drinks, and it was lovely, and it was just a totally different type of adventure, but we still had the cycling and stuff, but we kind of lived it up, and we didn't have to rough it, and we didn't have to kind of really push ourselves out of our comfort zone in a, I guess, in kind of a kind of roughing it way, but it was still out of their comfort zone for maybe some cycling and stuff that they did. But it was just a totally different thing, and like, that's okay too. Like, you can do all these different adventures in different ways, and you have to stick to one thing, and you don't have to feel bad for wanting to glamp it up a little bit.
And that's exactly it. That's why it's like, the question is, what is adventure for you? Like, it is different for so many different people. Like, adventure can be climbing those big mountains, 10-day expeditions, living out of like off the bare minimum, and that sort of stuff. And then it can be like, adventure can be just like going and exploring a local park. So it's like, adventure is such a big, broad word, and it has a different meaning for everybody. So don't get boxed into thinking that it has to be one way or the other. That's why this interview series is interviewing so many different women, because like you, like, people will see you and go, oh, Tara's amazing, and she inspires me because I can see me in her. And then other people go like, oh yeah, she was all right, and connect with somebody else. We're so many different versions of representing all the women that are out there, and that's the juicy part about meeting and talking with amazing women like you, that it's like, there'll be that one woman who will be like, I'm going to go do that thing because I get her, she inspired me in a way that nobody else has. So, your time on here and sharing all that and sharing that inspiration and sharing the passion is phenomenal. So thank you so much again. This time we will actually get off the call. I'm going to press stop now. All right. See you, Tara. Cheers, love.